Welcome back to the Malted Man Cave. I'm Keith.
I'm Dave.
And tonight we're going to be doing another limited edition from Campbelltown. Coming up. Alright, so we're back, and as I said, we're going to be doing another amazing whiskey from Campbelltown, a limited edition Longrow Red Cabernet Franc. So, you know anything about this, Davey boy?
I know it's Springbank.
So before we get into this review, right off camera, before we got in this, I know this is super classy and probably will lose the subscribers, but I may or may not have had to burp. And I told Dave, I'm sorry, man, I had some chili. And Dave proceeded to tell me, was it 5-way chili? To which I said, 5-way chili? That sounds inappropriate.
Do they have 5-way all over the world?
Please tell us, what is 5-way chili?
Well, from this part of the world, you can have, it's a Cincinnati-style chili. It's not really chili. It's like
this is no way a sexual innuendo of any way.
Oh, you can get real weird with it. Some oyster crackers, some noodles.
Really? I like it. So a little bit about Longrow Red as I pour this. So this particular beauty comes in at about 50 ppms. And it is matured, I think, for 9 years in bourbon barrels and 2 years in Cabernet Franc barrels.
Just a little bit. I've got some left.
And the 2 years in Cabernet Franc barrels, it actually comes from the same... Is that good? I like this a little bit more, Dave. It comes from the same place that last year's edition, the Malbec, came from.
When I show up and the bottle is down to the bottom.
Yes, I'm glad that you did not want as much as this.
Down into my belly.
So... this year, the Cabernet Franc barrels that they used to mature this beautiful whiskey in came from South Africa. I think it was De Toren Private Wine Cellar or something like that, which is a South African winery. And as I said before, that's the same winery they used the Malbec cask used to do the last Longrow Red limited edition. So, any more fun facts about this whiskey? Anything you want to add?
No, it smells good.
Stuff. It comes in at 55.9% ABV. Non-colored and non-chill filtered, as every whiskey should be. And without further ado, let's get into some whiskey. Oh. Daddy likes.
My first note.
Daddy likes.
My first note on the nose was it was like stepping into an Abercrombie and Fitch store back in the day.
You know what? That's so funny that you said that, because that reminds me of flannel shirts, which is one of my notes that I got. Flannel shirts.
It reminded me of stepping into a clothing store,
yeah. Which reminds me of another fun fact, that the Cabernet Franc barrels were actually, the oak that held them were French oak. Which, as I've noticed lately, every time I have a whiskey that's matured in French oak, I get this drying flannel taste, which is delicious to me. But I've just noticed it. It's always with French oak.
French oak.
Yeah.
Maybe.
What else you get on the nose? Besides Abercrombie and Fitch. Do people even know what Abercrombie and Fitch is anymore? Do they even have stores open, or is it just Hollister?
They do. They do.
They do?
They're still around.
Just dying.
Sorry, Brandon. So, dark fruits. I wrote dark fruits down on my notes when I was drinking this earlier. Couldn't quite. I didn't have a lot of time. Definitely, like, it reminded me.
Dave almost fell asleep. He was like doing that. Dave was pretty tired.
I was watching the football game while doing notes. Yeah, never a good thing.
We were watching the Steelers.
Definitely the woody peat, the oak that you were talking about. I compared it to what you were saying was sooty, and I remembered as a kid we had a wood burning furnace, and the furnace, when it was unlit, especially when it was pretty damp down in the basement, had a similar scent to this. Especially with the type of trees whatever we were burning, if it was
Yeah, it's very oaky.
Yeah. And then the last thing was a wine cork. It smells just like a popping a wine cork out and sticking it up to your nose.
Would you agree that this is very drying? At least on the nose. I mean, have you tried a sip yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you did. You did the nose.
Doing it all.
No, you're falling asleep, so I don't know if you'd remember. Anything else you get?
No. How about you? Yes, it is very drying, by the way.
On the nose, I get a beautiful, beautiful strawberry rhubarb pie note that is very quickly followed up by like dry wood cedar shavings, like a buttery homemade pie crust, a little bit of whipped cream. Oh, it's just that's the stuff.
Down into my belly.
Smoked, if they actually, I don't think they make this, but if they made smoked raspberry and strawberry jam, this is what I believe it would smell like. Again, like I said, that sooty, smoky goodness and funk that I get with all Springbank Longrows. And sometimes with Hazelburn. It's not as strong with Hazelburns. Then a little bit of biscuity sugar dough, like sugar cookies. Just really pleasant nose for me. What do you get?
Yeah, I get all those things too.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, you can definitely see that once you get past some of the more active profiles.
For smoke?
The smoke!
This comes in, I think, like I said, like 50 ppm, so it's pretty high.
It's not bad.
It's pretty high.
Drink this all day. For the palate, I wrote, to stay with my Abercrombie & Fitch, it definitely reminded me of a cologne, like you were just straight out of the bottle, a shot of cologne.
Have you ever done that?
I wrote fierce down. Do you remember that cologne?
Yeah, I used to rock it out.
Yeah. Just feels like...
You know I was like the poster boy for Abercrombie & Fitch. So Brandon,
no.
I was not knocking.
You didn't wear fierce, you wore Woods.
Well, then I switched to Fierce later on. You remember that actually, this reminds me more of that scent than Fierce.
That's what I was thinking about.
Actually.
Woods is what I was thinking about.
It totally does.
I know, right? Creepy, huh?
Woods, Abercrombie & Fitch.
So then I wrote definitely some sweetness from probably the dark fruits that I was getting earlier, the red wine, and then followed up by a sugary smoke is how I wrote it. It's definitely smoke and it's prevalent and I can tell it's got a lot of it in it, but it's not overwhelming. I'll put it that way. It's just enough. Reminds me, the sugary smoke, I think I wrote down burnt marshmallow is how I would describe it. It's
actually a good one.
It's got a very good kind of 1-2 whammy. That's official.
So again, I get all that strawberry rhubarb pie goodness, buttery, like homemade crust. I don't get the whipped cream as much on the palate. Dirty gasoline, funk, grunge, soot, all the lovely things that I love about Springbank and Longrow.
One note on the nose that I didn't write down was that it reminded me of mothballs.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I can see that.
Mothballs.
One thing we should have done, and obviously I did a lot of this when I was enjoying this whiskey.
Partaking.
Yeah, this really opens up nice with a little drop of water.
Yeah.
We should have got
for the
some
next
more,
bottle.
Yeah. Which I probably won't ever be able to find, unfortunately. Soot, sugar cookies and biscuits. Biscuits like on strawberry jam on biscuits. It's almost like I know this sounds like a caramel glaze. I know it's really weird to specify like caramel, like a different, but it's like a glaze.
Yeah.
Almost like you would get like on a donut almost.
Oh. I do love donuts.
Yours out.
With caramel glaze.
And then at the very end is when all this like flannel shirt, black pepper, red cayenne pepper kick comes in at the end. It
does.
And blasts you at the end. It's really good stuff. I think that I still would put the Pinot Noir Longrow Red just the slightest bit above this. But it's good. What about the finish?
So what you just said as far as that kind of kick at the end, definitely some pepper, but then that burnt, I kind of have a tip of my tongue kind of burnt marshmallow is how I put it. Just sugar, burnt sugar.
I totally get the burnt marshmallow now.
Burnt sugar
totally get
is how, and that stays with me along with some of the fire from the pepper.
So for me, it is a very, very long finish, and it takes you on a ride of drying flannel shirts, black pepper, red cayenne pepper, with a little hint of all the red fruits and the strawberry rhubarb and the raspberries and all that. Really heavy on the cedar shavings. It's very, very drying, but good. And a little kick of, what did I put at the end? The caramel glaze, I don't feel like you get as much on the end. You definitely get a little bit of that gasoline and funk too.
Maybe they added to it
in life at the end. So
they just a little drop of gasoline into
just the tip.
They'll never
play a little game called Just the Tip.
Is that gasoline?
All right, Malted Man Cave
petrol?
Mark.
Is that petrol?
Malted Man Cave Mark.
So this is
75.
This is delicious. It is good, and I can handle it. I was hoping he was gonna. I'm gonna give it an 87.
87.
An 87.
All right, I'm gonna give this 91.
Ooh.
Malted Man Cave Marks, 91 out of 100.
Breaking the 90.
I was really thinking about giving it a 90, but I'm enjoying it so much right now that I'm gonna be liberal and give it a higher mark because I haven't had a Longrow Red, in a while. So, Malted Man Cave approved. Question of the night. Please introduce it.
We were watching football, and we thought we would do American football, and we thought we would do a question about that. In our opinions, who was the most dominant defensive, or is always the most dominant defensive person in the NFL?
Initially, I was thinking, Reggie White and some of the more old school. Obviously, we're a little bit younger. We're in our mid-30s. So we don't know the really old school, football players from back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. But initially, Reggie White came to mind, but then I had to settle in on Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis.
Just the beast mode in full command of this defense. He was would get his players revved up. One thing, and I was telling him off camera, I had this impression of Ray Lewis growing up that he was the biggest thug. I think there was didn't they get accused of murder or something like that?
Yes, and then he burned all of his clothes.
But anyways, now I watch him on First Take and all these, and he seems like the nicest guy. He talks about God all the time now. He seems like someone who has other players' backs and whatever. And I kind of feel like I read a book by its cover, and maybe he's a little bit better guy than I thought. Mm-hmm. One thing is for sure is that he is an amazing football player, and I loved watching him play. And he really does seem like a good guy now, and I like watching him talk. But I remember when I was younger, I just thought he was super shady.
Yeah. Well, and he was scary.
No one knows.
The eye black coming all the way down,
Dude, I would not have wanted to be a wide receiver coming on a slant in the middle like that. I just, I think
maybe he's got a knife on him.
I think I'm gonna sit out this game. I think I'm gonna sit out.
Just kidding,
Baltimore.
Ray. You're my boy.
He's gonna come get you. You're my boy, Blue. You're my boy,
Blue.
All right, what about you? Who'd you pick?
So I too thought about Reggie White, the Minister of Defense. Growing up, he was right in our era as far as and us us growing up in Christian homes, anyone that was a Christian,
and he was a good guy for sure. We know that.
He's got some skeletons in the closet that you should read about.
Really?
Yeah, poor Richard.
From back in the day or from now?
I think from always.
From always?
Yeah.
Really?
Not as.
Oh no.
I mean, whatever. Money corrupts all. So I would go with Neon Dion. Deion Sanders.
I actually thought about him too. He was nasty.
excellent coverage on defense, but nothing's better than for a good defense than a good offense. And the fact that he could go both ways.
Yeah.
And
play Major League Baseball.
And start, yeah,
he was nasty.
That's incredible.
I just remember like it was either Madden 95, 96, or 97. And then they'd have it like high step, and you could like press Y or whatever button and do it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Man.
If you got out far enough and had, you could high step.
You remember Ricky Waters? Remember when Deion Sanders plays on the San Francisco team that had Ricky Waters?
Yeah.
He loved high stepping too. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us down here in the Malted Man Cave. Please like, subscribe.
And tell us, if you don't have American football where you live, tell us who the great of your defensive player of your sport. Yep.
Feel free to leave us a question tonight. So me and Dave can banter about anything. Thank you for stopping in. Delicious whiskey. Malted Man Cave approved. At least on this side of the man cave.
No, approved on both sides.
And